Can someone explain how we going from this, but instead you pick this, is a good idea? Can someone explain that, please? And yeah, one last thing. Restore the fucking Snyderverse. What is up, my fellow cinephiles? I am finally back. If you did not know, I have been doing Zack Snyder watch parties on my YouTube. I've been watching a lot of Zack Snyder films to get hyped for this very special. When it comes out, this will be a live premiere. I will be in chat. We can talk this movie, not just me reviewing it, but also in the chat for things I may have accidentally missed, or if you want me to elaborate more in chat, I can do that. We are finally reviewing, guys. It is here, the Snyder Cut. I cannot tell you when the day was announced that this thing was coming out how hyped I was, because I watched BVS. BVS is still to this point one of my favorite Batman films and just one of my favorite comic book movies because I've only known the Ultimate Edition. I've been a defender of that movie since day one. That was the first Snyder film I watched, and that got me into Zack Snyder as a filmmaker. So that when I say that that's the movie that made me fall in love with him as a director, I mean that was the movie that made me fall in love with him as a director, was BVS. Then, if you had to go with the order, then I've watched Watchmen, which was like phenomenal. The Ultimate Cut, and then I watched the Director's Cut, which is my preferred cut. Then I did 300. Then Man of Steel. No, wait. I did Man of Steel, then 300. And then I revisited Man of Steel to gain appreciation for that movie. Then, what's the other one? Is Dawn of the Dead. Was my most recent one, which was about 5-6 months ago, I think. First time I watched it, but I've been a defender of Zack for a long time. He's one of my favorite directors, period. And another tidbit, this is completely side tangent. He's one of the most nicest guys I've ever seen in Hollywood. Like, they're just respect and just the way he interacts with people. It's so down to earth and genuine that if I can treat people half as good as he does, I will, at least some part of me will be proud of myself for how I interact with people. Like, he sets a great precedent. A great precedent, in my opinion. But let's get into the big chunk. What did I think of the film? Besides everything, what did I think? Early thoughts. Restore the fucking Snyderverse, baby. Restore the Snyderverse. I said it, and I will bang on my desk repeatedly. This movie, if you're a Snyder fan, you're going to walk out of this way than more entertained. You're going to love it. You're going to think it's one of, if not his best films, period. And let's get into why I love the movie before I even give it a rating and stuff like that. Not only does it fix the tonal issues, it gets rid of the Superman CGI, which for some people, me included, would be a massive upgrade anyway. It gets rid of that. We see black suit Superman, which is what the trailers show. And here's some things without spoiling it. Cyborg and Flash, obviously we've seen their backstories teased in the trailers. It gets fleshed out in this movie. This movie earns its 4-hour runtime, but it does not feel long or a sludge in the least. I did take a break, my viewing experience, we can get into that. I did watch it, I attempted to watch it in one sitting, but I had to take a bathroom break after part 4, which if you watch Grace Randolph, aka Beyond the Trailers channel, she had Zack on, and Zack elaborated on, how you can watch the film, about breaks you may need to take, stuff like that. And he mentioned how it would be best if you're going to have to take a break. If you need to take a quick one after part 2, but the theatrical intermission, when it hits theaters, will be after part 4. So I did take one break after part 4, and it was so hard to take that break, man. best of luck to you if you try and take a break after part 4. That's all I'm going to say. It ends on a high note. And the last like 5 to 7 minutes of part 4 is nothing but high notes. Just bang after bang after bang to keep you interested and hyped. And then boom, part 5 pops up like the screen. Another thing, I love the part transitions. This movie, if you don't know what part transitions are, you're going to be surprised when you see this. The film, what it does is it pops up. You'll go black screen, it'll pop up prologue, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, 5, 6, and then epilogue. And what that does is it gives you a nice transition to know you're going from this to this. It has a much even better flow. And for this being a lengthier runtime film, it gives you that opportunity to know, okay, hey, we're transitioning. If I need to take a bathroom break or grab some more snacks, I can do that. And now I want to dissect the part about people saying, does it belong in theaters? Can it belong in theaters? I think it can. You just need to put in the theatrical intermission after part 4. You put that in, people can do it. Because you give them about 15 to 20 minutes, go to the bathroom, grab some snacks, the concessions, and get back in their seat and ready to watch parts 5, 6, and the epilogue. And that epilogue, it is... I'll say it this without spoiling it. It's a mind trip, man. It messes with you a little bit, and it's awesome. It's a fun, very fun Easter egg of an epilogue. And this movie's filled with Easter eggs, man. And it is so epic, so just, it's such an epic movie. Which, I mean, 4 hours, it would be epic. Now let's get into another portion. The score by Junkie XL. Hey, if you want to say that you like the Danny Elfman score, you can say it. But you cannot look at me and tell me that Junkie XL did not do a good job on this film score. If you watch this movie, it was amazing. Amazing. He proves that it was his time to take in the full reign and be the composer for this film score. He proves it with this. And what I mean by that is Hans Zimmer has been the film score for the besides Rupert Gregson Williams with Wonder Woman. With the exception of him, it's been Hans Zimmer throughout the DCEU. It's been Hans Zimmer. And I mean, Rupert Gregson Williams also did Aquaman, but again, the majority of the DCEU film scores have been done by Hans Zimmer. What Junkie XL is able to do is he gives you that intensity, that big punch that Hans will give you in his powerful pieces. So it sounds a bit like Hans when it needs to, but it's original. It's got its own musical cues, and it fits the tone and the vibe of these characters. The film score it's amazing by Junkie XL. He crushed it, knocked it out of the park. Belongs in future DCEU projects. So now that we got the score part out of the way, the film score at least, let's get into the characters part. What characters do I feel like were redeemed more in this movie? Like ranking number 1, this movie went me from like in the Whedon cut to absolutely love. It's a close one between Flash and Cyborg. I'm going to give the nugget to Cyborg because he has so many emotional moments that make you just latch onto his character. Even if you're not a big Cyborg fan, even if you're not someone that's maybe read the comics or been a huge Cyborg supporter, this movie will make you like Cyborg a lot. Ray Fisher was amazing in this role. I was stunned by how much I enjoyed Ray Fisher as Cyborg, and I'm not saying he's bad at all. I'm just saying it was shocking to see how much was removed in the Whedon cut compared to the Snyder cut. Seeing all that backstory with Victor Stone and the origins of him becoming Cyborg, getting to know the day in his life, which is the same thing we get with Flash as well. It makes us attach to these characters, care for them, and actually be willing to follow their journey. Instead of in the Justice League over here, you just have them literally just setting up one-liners. You just have Flash this over here just to set up one-liners, and then you just have Cyborg that just pops up. He just randomly pops up. Whereas in the Snyder Cut, they both have backstory, they both have arcs. And now let's get into the Flash. I mentioned him, Barry Allen. He is probably the most important member. You could argue Cyborg or Flash for who's the most important member of the League. I say Flash because there's a scene, again, not gonna spoil it, but towards the end of the movie, there's a scene that if Flash was not there at the place at the time he was there, or even a part of the League, they would not have been successful. He was that important, guys. Flash was crucial to this movie. Crucial. And the reason why Cyborg was crucial is we get to see the extent of his powers. Versus in the Justice League cut, he's just there just flying around, just fighting. In the Snyder cut, we see the extent of his powers. We see him kind of learn them and use them so we understand just how powerful and important he is. Versus with Barry Allen, we get the day in his life, him interacting with his father who's in jail, which isn't a spoiler, it's in the trailers. I'm trying to keep it non-spoilery, and then later on I'll get into a spoiler portion and I'll do a warning, and then in my YouTube video I'll make sure it's time-stamped for the people who watch it after the fact, after it's done premiering. But I'll also give a warning in this live premiere when I get to spoilers. You guys will know. We're not quite there yet. But man, I get stunned with this movie, man. This movie was like night and day. It was a night and day difference. And listen, I've interacted with a few people that like the Justice League cut. If you want to like that cut, go right on ahead. But this is my announcement, how I feel about the Justice League compared to the Snyder cut. To me, the Justice League, it's not canon. It doesn't exist to me. From this point on, I'm going to try and pretend it doesn't exist, because the Snyder cut is leaps and bounds better. Leaps and bounds better. There's a reason why Rotten Tomatoes of all sites is rating this as the highest rated Zack Snyder film of all time. It's the highest rated. There's a reason that they're rating this above every film he's directed. This is his magnum opus, his masterclass, his masterpiece. It's his masterpiece, guys. And knowing the context that he returned to finish this film with $75 million extra dollars, but he didn't get a penny to come back and finish this movie. Not a penny. That shows you the passion this man has for storytelling, these characters, and his vision, and for the fans, for them to get to see his vision. That's what I mean when I say if I can be half the man that Snyder is with these things, just wow. Just wow. Now, let's get into the tone of this movie, because a lot of people want to say that Snyder is too dark. Does it have that typical Snyder tone? To an extent, but it is a lot more comedic than people will ever realize. You have to watch this movie. But it fits. The comedy that's there, it's not over the top. It fits with the characters. Flash is obviously more the comedic line giver, just the punchline guy. That's his vibe, that's his tone, that's his energy. But it fits. And there's good energy with everybody. There's a few jokes here and there. Batman, he's not cracking jokes, but what Batman has, I call it interactional humor. What I mean by that is he'll say something and then one of the characters will reply to it, and then some people may interpret that as kind of a comedic moment. But it's not Batman cranking out a eerie, like iffy, like cringy one-liner joke. Batman doesn't do that in this movie. The only time he does, and this is a semi-spoiler, I'm not going to count it as a full spoiler, so if you guys want to hop out for like 10-15 seconds and hop back in, Batman still does say the line to Barry when he asks him what his powers are. The line still sticks in that Batman replies, or Bruce Wayne replies, "I'm rich." That line didn't sit well with me in the Whedon cut. It's still there in the Snyder cut, but again, That's a nitpick. It's one line out of this movie, and every film, if you're gonna nitpick, you're gonna find faults, things you don't necessarily enjoy to the max. And I needed to throw in some nitpicks to this film review because so many people are Snyder fans, and they're gonna want to overlook those faults. And to them, there may be no faults. To me, that's probably the only fault I can find in the movie is that, well, Bruce still says he's the rich line. That's it. Other than that, the film score was great. The visuals were great. The pacing was phenomenal for a 4-hour film. I watched that 4-hour movie, guys, and it barely even felt like a 2-hour movie. Barely. It felt like I was watching just your regular old superhero movie. I didn't feel it was long at all because I was latched onto the characters. It had great pacing. It was action-packed. It had action a little in the beginning. It had a little action after every little portion. A little more action would happen. So you're not removed and then you get oversaturated and just kind of give out. It doesn't do that, which is amazing for a film of this runtime to be able to pull that off. And now let's get into the stigma of films with long run times. A lot of people, when they heard this movie was going to be 4 hours long, or it could be a miniseries approach, it divided people. People were either for it or against it. I was for the long run time because if he can do it, let the man do it. If he's saying he can do it, let the man do it. The point of this Snyder Cut movement, the point of this premiere event on HBO Max is so that we get to see his full vision come to life. That was the whole point of the Snyder Cut. And we finally get to see that brought to life. We finally, guys, get to see his full 100% vision. Why not let that runtime be 4 hours? And I love what Snyder said. I watched him on a charity stream last night before I did my watch party for Batman vs. Superman Ultimate Edition. He mentioned how even some fans were like, it's only 4 hours long. It could be fun. If the quality that this movie was, if Snyder told us that there was an hour's worth of footage that he could have included back in and made it a 5-hour movie, do it. Release an epically, keep the 4-hour cut on HBO Max and even release a 5-hour movie. That's how great the pacing was in this 4-hour movie. I was not bored at all. I was interested from first shot to credits roll. The only reason I took my break after part 4 is I was turtle heading it, about to drop a Mondo Duke in my bed. I had to go to the bathroom. That was it. But man, oh man. And just, again, as my boy Tyrone Magnus would say, there was a lot of great, not just great action scenes, but the iconic Tyrone Magnus line, there was cape flapping in this movie. Great cape flapping. Alright, so that is the non-spoiler portion. So right before we get into the spoiler portion, I'm going to give you my overall rating from a 1 to a 10. And just an overall summary of why I give it the rating I do. So, drum roll please. On a rating from 1 being god-awful, I would rather watch paint dry on a wall, gouge my eyes out and eat them, and 10 being a quintessential masterpiece that should be taught in film classes for years to come. The Snyder Cut, ladies and gentlemen, is a 9.8. And if you want to round it up to a 10, I can give you a 10. The only reason I'm contemplating not giving it that full 10 was the one line by Bruce Wayne. Period. That was the only complaint I have about the whole movie, guys. The only complaint. Again, that wraps up the non-spoiler portion. Now we're getting into the spoiler portion of the review. So if you have not seen the Snyder Cut and you don't want it spoiled, this is the warning to hop off the stream. I appreciate you guys watching this stream, this premiere review for the Snyder Cut. And after you've watched the Snyder Cut, you can come back on at this point, watch my discussion for the spoilers of this film. Now, a lot of people speculated that in the second trailer, when Martha Kent has the glowing red eyes, that's a Martian Manhunter. You're correct. It was Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter is in the movie. In terms of a screen time, he's in there for about a total of maybe 8-9 minutes. Not in there a lot, but he is slightly more than a cameo. He's a side character in the film, more of an Easter egg role, but he is there. This film does set up a lot of potential sequels, a lot of potential follow-ups. There's also a change in the end of the Whedon cut. We hear Lex talk to Deathstroke about setting up this Legion of Doom, whereas in the Snyder cut, it's Lex talking to Deathstroke because Lex has figured out Batman's identity. Or he obviously probably already knew, but he was telling Deathstroke Batman's identity being Bruce Wayne. And then, like, that's just, like, come on now. That was awesome. That was an awesome moment. Seeing Superman in the black suit. But yes, Martian Manhunter wasn't in a very prominent role, but he was there for about 8 to 9 minutes. Now, to the people who saw the Green Lantern Corps, or someone representing the Green Lantern Corps in the movie, and you're wondering, was Hal Jordan or Jonathan Stewart of the Green Lantern Corps, the core Green Lanterns, were any of them in that movie? No, neither one. But Snyder, I believe, has said that there was at one point a plan to bring in Jonathan Stewart's Green Lantern into this movie. But surrounding parties were kind of like, don't do it. So I don't know if they have a plan to involve him in another project, and they just thought it would be better to involve him in that project versus throw him in this one. I don't know. But Zack had an idea to do it, and there were some disagreeing parties about that. So that's your context for Green Lantern, whether to expect that or not. Darkseid. How often is Darkseid in the film? If we're talking on-screen camera time, he gets a total of maybe 10 minutes. But maybe 10 to 15 minutes. But he has a presence. It is great dialogue. He is badass as fuck. And Ray Porter does a phenomenal job with Darkseid. Now let's get into the nightmare stuff, the nightmare sequence. To the people wondering, the nightmare sequence, it's not quite a cameo scene. It's a tad bit longer than your typical cameo scene. It is set up like a cameo scene. It is around 10 to 15 minutes long that you get a flash of the nightmare scene earlier in the movie. You get a flash of it for about maybe 3-4 minutes. And then you get the nightmare sequence for about 10 to 15 minutes. You get that stuff towards the end of the movie in the epilogue. And in the context is, it's set up like a literal nightmare. Bruce wakes up, everything's normal. He had a nightmare, and in that nightmare was the nightmare sequence. It was the nightmare world. So, in case you were wondering. And in this nightmare world, they did a great job of showing how Bruce Wayne teamed up with Flash. It was him and Flash were still there. Mara, because in this nightmare sequence, Arthur Curry gets killed, so it's Mara. And then you have Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke is teaming up with Batman. And then you have Joker. Yes, Joker and Batman working together because they want to overtake Darkseid. They want to get rid of him and try and build this world back. In this, what we later, and then Bruce Wayne wakes up. It was all a nightmare. But we've seen what superhero films and what certain superheroes, when they have nightmares, can do. So it's not impossible to say, guys, that he doesn't push this into a real occurrence. If you guys want this, to check it out on HBO Max, watch it, show your hashtag Restore the Snyderverse support, hashtag For Autumn support, and you never know what might happen. You never know. So those are a lot of the heavy spoiler talk. Now, about Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf was a lot better in this movie. Okay? And let me elaborate a little more on why he was so much better. Not only was the armor better, and what is cool about his armor was it was very manipulative. It kind of like shifted and kind of moved and kind of conformed to what was best protective for him. Also, he was given context for each location of each mother box. It shows him and the parademons like searching for each mother box instead of just magically appearing where they're at and just taking them. Instead of like, well, how in the fuck did he find out that was where the mother box was? We see buildup of that. We see him interrogate people. We see him send parademons out to scout things and try and find these mother boxes. So that was amazing to see. To get context and understanding of how he was able to get these mother boxes. And if there is anything different in the Snyder Cut, there is something different. The mother boxes synchronize in the movie. They synchronize for a second. So, when I said that Flash had an important role, it's because the mother boxes, they synchronized. They had the explosion. And every hero besides Flash in that moment, if you will, died. He was all that was left, and he was outside of the building because he was trying to build up a current around that area so that he would have enough there'd be enough energy for Cyborg before the synchronization of the mother boxes to pull them apart. But Flash got hit. He got hit in the side, and he had a big hole, and he could have bled out. He was able to heal himself, but by the time it took him to collect himself, kind of get back up on his feet and heal himself back up, the synchronization had already occurred and the explosion had already occurred. But we got to see a scene, if you guys remember, where Flash resurrects Superman using his speed at the speed of light. He runs at the speed of light or faster than the speed of light. What did he say that does to time? It manipulates time, guys. He manipulated time through running at the speed of light or faster than the speed of light. He redid time running that fast. He ran up and helped save the whole crew. He helped save the whole crew because when he did that, he reversed everything. Every member was brought back. He helped Cyborg kind of collect himself, and then Cyborg and Superman together were able to separate the mother boxes and cancel the synchronization. And then it became one last stand for Steppenwolf versus the League. And if you thought this movie didn't deserve its R rating, it deserves its R rating. And here's why it does. It gives you a little bit of language here and there, but nothing crazy. Nothing over the top. They could probably get away with this movie being PG-13 for the language. But what the R gets is it has some big, heavy-hitting action, and it has gore. Wonder Woman decapitates, full-on decapitates Steppenwolf. So when people tell you about how Wonder Woman, this might be the most badass Wonder Woman we've ever gotten, you better listen to it. Because she full-on decapitates fucking Steppenwolf. When I saw that, I'm like, no way she's going to do this. No way they have the people involved have the balls to, let's say, have Wonder Woman decapitate Steppenwolf. And they did it. And the way it was executed was so well because a portal pulled up where we got to see Darkseid and just everyone there was watching as Steppenwolf was losing to the League and gets decapitated. He flies through the portal. And here comes his head rolling to Darkseid, and Darkseid just steps on his head and just crushes it. Like, holy fucking shit. That's what I got to say. So anyone who doubted these villains, just wow. And a little bit more nugget on Steppenwolf. He also has a motive for going after the mother boxes now. He's not just going after it for the hell of it, or just goes, I want control, or I want power, I want destruction. Typical supervillain shit. No, he has a motive. He wants to go back home. And he's failed and betrayed Darkseid. He's failed him in other worlds and other world conquerors. And now he's forced to do certain things beyond, against his will. And he just wants to go back home. He wants to go live his fucking life in that world. And they won't let him go unless he gets 50,000 worlds. Like, now let that sink in for a moment. How easy would it be to destroy and conquer 50,000 fucking worlds? Can you let that sink in for a moment? I'm not saying I feel sorry for Steppenwolf. I'm saying he has a motive. You understand a little bit of as to why he does what he does in this film in terms of getting these mother boxes together and to just cause, as a lot, again, the nightmare sequence. We now know that context, guys. And that is what's amazing about this. So, overall, I have no idea why Warner looked at this movie and went, let's bring someone in and have them reshoot over 90% of it and then put that out in 2017. I have no idea why they chose to do that. Because this movie was not only better than the Whedon cut, it was better than probably every other DCEU film. Now, I can understand if some people like have a strong attachment to a DCEU film and they don't want to quite put it over there yet. But I'm telling you guys, if you rewatch this movie enough, if you watch this movie about 2-3 times, it's probably going to become your favorite DCEU film. It is amazing. It does every character perfectly. It has a flow. These characters have a backstory. They have arcs. They make you care. They don't destroy the integrity of any of them. And the film score is great. The action is gory, but not too gory. And it's badass. You know the Wonder Woman scene, by the way, I forgot to mention this before I get off here. The Wonder Woman sequence was, it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. In the early part of the movie where you have the bomb about to go off in the Whedon cut, it's, for the majority, it's the same. But it's executed differently in the Snyder cut. It's a little bit more extended. Yeah, obviously different musical cues, so it gives you a different tone and vibe. But Wonder Woman is way more badass in that scene. She's literally like borderline yeeting people with just punches and kicks across a whole building. Across a building, man. That shows you how powerful she is. Which is awesome. That's how you show a powerful character right there. So, that ends the spoiler portion as well. I can't be more glad that you guys are watching this right now. There's so many other streams, so many other premieres, so many other reviews, and I've had people wanting me to review this movie, wanting me to talk about it. I don't understand what the attachment was to me. And no, I'm not saying I have a countless amount of people doing it. I'm just saying I was surprised to hear anybody wanting to hear my take on it versus people with hundreds upon thousands or millions of subs or millions of followers. People still cared what I had to say about this, knowing that I am an avid Snyder fan, and this did not disappoint. And even for casual superhero fans, you will find entertainment in this movie. You will find entertainment in this. Will you love it as much as I do? I have yet to see. But I do think even the casual superhero film lover or superhero film kind of like liker that gets entertained by those films, they will be entertained by this. They will enjoy it. But to Snyder fans, not only was this kind of like a epic achievement moment, Snyder fans are going to love this, as they should, because this was most likely his best work ever. So yes, now that I think about it, I'll bump that rating up. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Perfection. Amazing. Masterpiece. And since I gave this movie a 10 out of 10, I will bump my Batman vs Superman Ultimate Edition rating down from a 10 to a 9, either a 9 or a 9.5, because the Snyder Cut was better than this. It was better than BVS Ultimate Edition. But yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys watching this stream. Way more than you guys will know. This movie was amazing, guys. It was awesome. I loved it beginning to end. I was not bored for a single second. Again, I recommend that if you're gonna watch this and trying to do it in one sitting, just make sure you got some snacks, you got some drinks with you, and be prepared if you have to take a break after either part 2 or part 4. Those are the 2 breaks I say. If you're doing a part 2 break after part 2, make it quick. If you're doing a part 4 break, you can do your typical intermission, 10, 15, maybe 20-minute break, come back, sit back down, finish the movie. Phenomenal film. Zack's best work yet to date, period. And I can't wait for you guys to see it and let me know what you thought about the film. So glad you guys wanted to see my review on it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll get back to posting typical content soon. Glad you guys could watch, and I will see you guys in the next one.